Now, a most important document had disappeared from the premises of the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, the Right Honourable Mr. Trelawney Hope. And the Prime Minister suggested that Mr. Sherlock Holmes be informed. Now, the document was in a locked dispatch box on the dressing table in Mr. Trelawney Hope's bedroom, and no one knew the contents of that locked box. Now, a suspect was found murdered on that very same night, and his name was Eduardo Lucas. And Mr. Holmes was convinced that he was somehow connected with the theft of that document. He and Dr. Watson met me at the scene of the crime in Godolphin Street. Well, the first thing I pointed out to them was that the blood-stained carpet, although soaked through, had somehow left no stain on the white woodwork underneath. It was obvious that, well, the carpet had been moved after the body had been taken away. It was then learned that the constable on duty, stupid man, had let in a woman who wanted to have a look at the scene of the crime. And this constable thought there was no harm in letting her have a peep. Oh. Shortly after that, the woman left the house in a hurry. I had spent a little time reprimanding this constable for his stupidity, and when I got back, well, Mr. Sherlock Holmes seemed rather pleased with himself, and told me he was about to visit the wife of Mr. Trelawney Hope. Well, without much ado, he told her that he had been commissioned to retrieve this very important document, and would she be kind enough to place it in his hands? Well, the lady was at first adamant that she knew nothing of the theft, but Mr. Holmes told her that he knew she had visited Mr. Eduardo Lucas and had given him the document, and had then later retrieved it from under the carpet. Well, a confession and disclosure followed. It was also a matter of blackmail, of details of which I will not disclose, but with the goodness of heart, Sherlock Holmes skillfully arranged the safe return of this document to the dispatch box, and matrimonial harmony was maintained. This intriguing case went on record as the adventures of the second stain.
It was, then, in a year, or even a decade that shall be nameless, that upon one Tuesday morning in autumn we found two visitors of European fame within the walls of our humble room in Baker Street. The one, austere, high-nosed, eagle-eyed and dominant, was none other than the illustrious Lord Bellinger, twice Premier of Britain. The other, dark, clear-cut and elegant, hardly yet of middle age, and endowed with every beauty of body and of mind, was the Right Honourable Trelawney Hope, Secretary for European Affairs, and the most rising statesman in the country. They sat side by side upon our paper-littered settee, and it was easy to see from their worn and anxious faces that it was business of the most pressing importance which had brought them. The Premier's thin, blue-veined hands were clasped tightly over the ivory head of his umbrella, and his gaunt, ascetic face looked gloomily from Holmes to me. The European Secretary pulled nervously at his moustache and fidgeted with the seals of his watch-chain. When I discovered my loss, Mr. Holmes, which was at 8 o'clock this morning, I at once informed the Prime Minister. It was at his suggestion that we have both come to you.
Have you informed the police?
No, sir, said the Prime Minister, with the quick, decisive manner for which he was famous. We have not done so, nor is it possible that we should do so. To inform the police must, in the long run, mean to inform the public. This is what we particularly desire to avoid.
And why, sir?
Because the document in question is of such immense importance that its publication might very easily, I might almost say probably, lead to European complications of the utmost moment. It is not too much to say that peace or war may hang upon the issue. Unless its recovery can be attended with the utmost secrecy, then it may as well not be recovered at all, for all that is aimed at by those who have taken it is that its contents should be generally known.
I understand. Now, Mr. Trelawney-Hope, I would be much obliged if you would tell me exactly the circumstances under which this document disappeared.
That can be done in a very few words, Mr. Holmes. The letter, for it was a letter from a foreign potentate, was received 6 days ago. It was of such importance that I have never left it in my safe, but I have taken it across each evening to my house in Whitehall Terrace and kept it in my bedroom in a locked dispatch box. It was there last night. Of that I am certain. I actually opened the box while I was dressing for dinner and saw the document inside. This morning it was gone. The dispatch box had stood beside the glass upon my dressing-room table all night. I am a light sleeper, and so is my wife. We are both prepared to swear that no one could have entered the room during the night, and yet I repeat that the paper is gone.